Hey, this old drill sitting out here in the sun, it's actually quite hot. And it's really nice to rub it down while it's here. Take advantage of it because it really cleans the stains off. Oh, I got a little spot there to take care of. I'll get up here on this column. Now, I did not use any abrasives on this column, and you can see in some of the photos I post at times it's just solidly rusted. So I scraped it off. There's still little spots there, but they'll come off. I might cheat and use a little bit of Scotch-Brite up in there. But that is great. Now, I'm going to try to improve the paint. You know, it's kind of really ugly in here. Too hot to do it now, but it'll cool down. And I'm going to sand it a little bit and put some of that Penetrol in the paint and try to detail some of this a little better, make it look smoother. And, you know, I think this whole rusty thing will end up looking good like the milling machine in there in that axle set. Wow, that's really something. And oh man, I'll tell you, it's pretty hot. Pretty hot out here, and there's still that juniper and sage smoke. Yeah, it got pretty exciting down the street here after I shot the cannon. Looks like a family kind of blew themselves up, but I asked somebody and they're all okay. But there's a whole family out there and smoke was coming out of their clothes, and somebody called first responders, I think. Yeah, this is a very nice neighborhood here. You know, it's pretty quiet, and I was kind of surprised at the rowdiness of the fireworks, you know. Yeah, it's a really good neighborhood now, but you know, when I was a kid, it was a tough neighborhood. It was a rough neighborhood, you know. Terry Cannon knows what I'm talking about. You know, this was a tough hospital over here, and I was born in this hospital. Yeah, you know, it was a tough neighborhood and a tough hospital. You know, when I was first born and the doctor gives you a whack, I found out later the nurse got in a few licks too. It's just really tough, really tough. Okay, well, I'm going to go back in here and we'll take a look at the lake. Hey, now the original intent of goof around with this piece of metal is to make just a few of these things, and these are the tool holders for that tailstock turret that the blade donated here. So we discovered that the machine gets a little bit out of whack the further you go that way. And I want to retest that a little later with a more substantial piece of steel. And I would actually like to use the forge-jaw chalk, at least a 2-inch piece of steel, the full length of this thing. Okay, so I got this back here where it's turning without taper. This is an antique dial indicating snap gauge, and Mitutoyo makes a more modern version of this thing that are really nice, that just work like this, but they're more accurate, they're intense, and this reads in 1,000s. So there's the 0 mark there, okay, and I'm 57 thousandths from 1 inch, which is the size of those tool holders. So I'm going to move it in here. You see, still on 0, have no taper, and so it's a go ahead to do the final cut and make 3 of these. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I measure things. You see this dial indicating snap gauge. Well, I use the same thing, but for internal, and I got the setup here. Now this one here, these are standard Poughkeepsie, and they're quite old. This one here works from 3/8 of an inch to 5/8, and it doesn't have very much range. Let's see, I push this little button here. It's very hard with my thumbnail, and you'll see that needle move. See, look how tiny that is there. Okay, now this is the one we need here. It gauge number, standard gauge is number 1A, range 5/8 to 1 inch. Now this one I set here very conveniently with just kind of a basic bench micrometer that reads directly in tenths of thousandths. The nominal size of the tool holders are 1 inch. So I'm going to set this dial bore gauge. The micrometer's at 1 inch, and I've got to twist this little thing and see if it's still going to 0, and it is. See? It's 0. So we'll go over here. This is the vise made for it, isn't it? Swivel jaw Wilton holding the Morse taper. Okay, I got this turned on the side because of the screw holes, and I'm going to insert this in line with the tool, and let's see what the actual size is here. Rocking the gauge back and forth. Looks to me it's a little bit of a rough machine, but we'll get a pretty good idea. It looks like it's 1/2 over 1 inch, 1/2 thousandths over 1 inch. See, this reads in tenths. Right there is 1/1000th. Kind of hard to, you got to give it, whoops, see, I'm kind of sliding in some machining there. I'm going to call it 1/2 thousandths oversized, that hole, from 1 inch. So we'll check the next one. Let's see if I can rotate it with one hand. I can. So I'll check all of them, right? Just to make sure one's not goofy. Get in line here. Now this one seems to be 1/1000th over. I'm going to number these holes. Now what I want to do is, here's a little cheap life center. And I want to make, in this turret, I'm going to cut the shank off and make a holder here and push that in, and have a little live center for light work. And so I'm going to want this hole, and I'm going to check alignment with it in the machine, and I'm going to want, an accurate fit in this hole and a true fit with the machine. Makes sense, doesn't it? Then one of these holes, I'm going to have a drill chuck, and then I can also just put a blank, one of those blank chunks in there, and drill it for a center drill. The center drill doesn't have to be in a chuck. It can just be set screwed into a hole that you drill with the headstock into this to keep it centered. So I think it's going to make it more interesting and usable having live centers and drill chucks. and possibly even an ER32 super cheap gullet chuck extension. You know, I can saw one of those off and plug in there and stick in mills and all kinds of things in there for counter boring operations. Okay, that's what I'm up to, and I will be back. Are you hungry? What do you want to do? Well, just camp out. Let's go to